Hello, my name is Appanna and I'm the founder of Future Thota. Here I'm explaining a drone survey report we recently prepared for a client. First, I'll start off with the three standard deliverables that we provide, which is this RGB map, a highly detailed RGB map, a digital surface model, and the digital terrain model, which are standard deliverables. And we can also do custom analysis like a crop study. For example, in this case, we've done a coconut tree study. There were other crops as well, like banana and areca nut, but we focused on coconut trees in this case. In the crop study, we do the NDVI classification and height map. We can also do other custom analysis as required, and we prepare an entire report with all of this. Now, diving deeper into the analysis of each of these outputs, we see that we use the RGB for one, indicating what crop is where. So this gives the client a very good detail about their plantation. And we give the planar area. The planar area is a 2D area as seen from the satellite, or in this case the drone, and does not account for the terrain slope. We also provide terrain corrected slopes, but in this case we've done just the planar area. This is kind of like a geo fence. So once you have this polygon, any encroachment can be easily identified. The digital surface model gives the heights of the canopies. We can see this legend here with a range of height values. These elevation numbers are not absolute. They're used simply for a relative reference in this case. This is because to get an absolute reference, we'll need to do more corrections, and in most of the applications for farm level, we do not need it. But if we do provide that. So here we can see that the relative difference between the background, which is the ground, and and the canopy, which is this green spot for a particular coconut tree, let's say, is around 4 meters. So it's between 580 to 584 from the blue to the green color. We have some observations for that digital surface model. Similarly, the digital terrain model is the same kind of display with the legend of elevation, but without the top surfaces. So this gives us the bare earth model. And here we can see some remnants of what the trees or where the trees would be, but these are smoothed out to a large degree. And it's just about maybe about 1 meter of variance, which is why it appears here. And here you see some artifacts. There's this crater here and this plateau. These are artifacts due to insufficient data points to triangulate the bottom. So the way the digital terrain model is made is through the software where it triangulates the ground points, but it needs sufficient ground points to triangulate to. And in this case, it's a closed kind of canopy here. So it did not have enough of those points to do it. Now moving on to the more custom analysis. In this case, it's the crop study for coconut trees. We've selected two variables, the tree height and the NDVI, which is a proxy for the health of the crop. This is the distribution of how these tree heights occur for the classifications of the coconut trees. Now, these coconut trees were marked manually in this case. We are moving towards more of ML based solutions so that it's more automated and can be deployed at scale. But here we have done this manually. And once this manual activity is done for the farm, it does not need to be done again. This serves as a kind of template through which you can track changes over time, for example. So here in this NDVI classification, which like I said is a proxy for health, we've divided the values into four quartiles. The first quartile, that means the first 25% of the values, if it was arranged from the lowest to the highest, would be low NDVI. And from 25 to 50, it's the moderate, and then high, and then very high. Very high would be 75 percentile and above. And here again, you notice some insights immediately just by looking at it. Like we see that here, the top right has a relatively high concentration of good healthy crops, good healthy coconut trees. You can also look at the key observations in text for picking up on these insights. We've also done the same with the height. So here the height is a much more evident kind of demarcation on the land. So we can see this top zone is the higher trees. And again, here this was classified in a quantile based system. So we, yeah, 25 percentile. Each classification is in 25 percentile of the values. And these are again, because it's a quantile based system, we should be careful not to interpret it as actually short. These are not absolute values. And when we say very tall, it's not necessarily very tall. It's just taller in this quantile based system. Similarly, we can just identify visually or look at the key observations. Now, after all of these insights and maps have been made, we can get combined actionable insights for the plantation. We can get a zoning overview. So here, for example, we've got a model zone, which is the northeast area. It has high NDVI and high trees. So that means whatever is being done there is working. The very high, the very tall height indicates that it's an older, more mature crop, and the high NDVI suggests that they are being tended to well. We have a lot of these insights, and we can also generate custom insights for the client as required. So here, for example, we have the tree health and NDVI correlations. We have how the distribution changes and what inference might be made from that. For example, where some gap filling might need to be done, and where you want to track the growth phases. Are the trees not growing? Is it stunted? Or is it just younger? Then we have the terrain-based strategy. So what can we get from DSM and DTM? The most obvious is the height, of course, the height of the crops and anything. But also we can get these kind of actionable items like where do you install the drainage and percolation trenches? And where can you make placements for water storage so that it allows for that gravity drip? So these are some of those combined correlations. And we have a last section where we give some strategic recommendations. In this case, for the infrastructure and irrigation, how do we use it? We can set the drip lines, the gravity fed drip lines from east to west in this particular plantation. As we notice, the slope is sloping in that way, like this. This is the highest part and this is the lowest part. We can also plan how the replanting and revitalization of the farm can be done. And we can also use this kind of insight and reporting for tracking the health of the farm and also to check any interventions which are being done on the farm, any special interventions like a different fertilizer perhaps, and how that is reflecting with the health of the crops. That is it for this demo. I hope you enjoyed this. Please contact Future Thota by visiting the website and entering details on the inquiry form, or send us an email on contact@futurethota.com. Thank you.